Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick
Hello, everybody. I'm Seahawks.
from Top Notch Sports, and today we're going to be discussing the Seattle Seahawks 2023 NFL Draft. They had a pretty dang good draft all around. And Seahawks, you're the expert here. You run an awesome Instagram page. First and foremost, what do you think overall as a draft? What do you think? How did they ultimately do?
I think it went really, really well. I like how he picked the best player on the board, multiple times. Like we took the best, what was thought to be the best quarterback in this class and the best wide receiver in this class in the first round. I thought that was absolutely awesome as it only makes the team better, right? So, I mean, I know the cornerback pick is a little controversial because everyone thought, oh, we need an interior defensive line or defensive lineman. But in reality, there's certain issues with Jalen Carter, to the point where, we had to actually reevaluate and say, hey, maybe we should take, you know, the most talented corner in this class and create what is now a no-fly zone in Seattle.
For sure. I mean, you go out and you make some things real fast before we go even any further. Tell them a little bit about how to find you, what your page is, and what you do a little bit.
Okay, so basically my Instagram page is called Seahawks underscore 97.3. And what I do over there is I post daily Seahawks content. I post news. I post articles for fun. I also post like mock drafts during the off season, sometimes scouting reports. I do all sorts of stuff over there. So if you give me a follow, that'd be nice because I work really hard on my content.
Yeah. You run a really good page. And like I said, if anyone Seahawks fan, I don't care if you're a Cardinals fan, I don't care if you're a Rams fan, go give this guy a follow. He does really good content, and you're gonna want to see the stuff that you do create. It's pretty dang good. And again, I support it for sure. All right. So now back to the draft. Okay. You guys go out. Well, first thing, let me mention you did make an article. So if they go to your Instagram, they get to see your thoughts. But for right now, I wanted to show them the article. We're not going to be able to do that today. Let's start with this. Okay. First pick, you thought, I think a lot of us thought they were going to go in a different direction. They ultimately go out to take, cornerback Devin Witherspoon from Illinois with the fifth overall pick. What do you think about it? What's your grade on it if you got one? How do you think this helps the team?
I love this pick. I loved it from the start. I mean, he's literally the best cornerback in this class. I mean, he's an absolute freak. In fact, I'd say he's more like a linebacker than a cornerback. I mean, he's literally probably one of the most physical corners I've ever watched. I mean, he hits players like he's like Cam Chancellor. I mean, and yet he's a cornerback. I mean, it's actually insane. It's rare that I've seen a cornerback as physical as he is. I'd give this grade an A because it creates a no-fly zone, and so teams next year are going to have a hard time passing the ball on us, considering our safety duo is already pretty good, and knowing we already have Tariq Woolen on the other side.
For sure. I mean, again, look, this was ultimately my number one cornerback coming out of the draft. I had Christian Gonzalez number one for quite some time, but at the end, I ultimately went with Devin Witherspoon. You mentioned his physicality. I feel like he is one of the most physical players I've ever watched. I think he might be the most physical player in the draft. And again, that's putting him up against linebackers and everything else. So again, it just shows you how physical this guy is. You pair him up with Tariq Woolen. That's a really nice duo right there. He's 5'11, 181. He did not run a 40 at the combine. So again, his speed might be slightly questionable. That's usually why they don't run it. But look, to me, everything that you wanted to see in a player, hard hitting guy, physical corner. He's going to be a guy that's going to lay someone out and that's going to hype up the sideline. So I ultimately gave this an A minus. I really like the pick. The thing is, again, as we mentioned, was this the biggest need? Was this the best player
Yeah,
on the board at the time? That's where I think you can question. What do you ultimately think? I mean, again, in our mock draft, I'm just going to put you in the hot seat here. Well, not in the hot seat, but I want to see what you think. You ultimately went out, you took Jalen Carter. I'm not saying that, they made the wrong decision or you made the wrong decision. I'm just saying, do you think this was the biggest need looking at it now?
um, no. However, I think it was a very underrated need.
Yep, for sure. And like I said, you put him with Tariq Woolen, phenomenal players. And I look, I'm gonna be honest with you, I wasn't as high on Jalen Carter as a lot of other people were. So again, I actually kind of like this pick
But
more. Again,
didn't you have him ranked number one in your, you know,
who? Carter?
Jalen Carter? Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think that he's number one, but I don't feel like he is the best player in the draft class, is what I'm trying to say. So
Okay.
I have Devin. If I did a top 100 board, Devin Witherspoon would be ranked over Jalen Carter on my big board.
Okay.
I say, especially I wouldn't, his Jalen Carter's tape's not bad, but especially considering, uh, you know, his off-field issues, I wouldn't have taken him in the top 10. So
Yeah, I mean, it was too risky. I understood the Seahawks decision immediately after they took Devin Witherspoon. I was like, yeah, this it just knowing what happened with Malik McDowell, several years back. Yeah, I can totally see why we didn't take Jalen Carter.
Absolutely. All right. So now the next pick, you guys go out, pick 20. You take wide receiver from Ohio State, Jackson Smith in the Jigba. A lot of people argue that this guy may be the best receiver in the draft class. 6 foot 196. Again, he did not run a 40, officially. What do you think about this guy?
I loved this pick from the start. Although he wasn't the wide receiver I would have taken at 20. He's still a great addition to what was already a good offense. I mean, we already have like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Now you're just adding another guy to the mix. It's going to make it almost impossible for a passing, like it's going to make it impossible for pass defenses to basically stop, our offense.
For sure. Again, this is a guy, in my original, after I got done scouting, he was my 6th ranked guy. I ultimately ended up putting him at 2. Look, his physicals aren't the greatest, okay? One of his, the best comparison I can give him physically, he's a 80.9% match to Julian Edelman. The other 2 guys
Okay.
above him are Kevin Ogletree and Jeremy Curley. 2 guys that nobody talks about. So I'm going to talk about the guy that everyone knows, Julian Edelman. His measurements really equal Julian Edelman-esque. He's a guy, to me, he can do a little bit of everything. Nothing really flashed to me on tape. But the thing is about him is, like you said, you don't need him to be a 1A right away. I don't know if he'll honestly ever be a 1A, a guy that can beat the best of the best corners. He'll always be good. He might get 2-3 catches a game against one of the best guys, but I don't think he's going to absolutely, he's not going to be a Devontae Adams. He's not going to be a DeAndre Hopkins. He's not going to be, one of those guys. But I feel like he's a really good piece for a team. And you add him with Lockett and DK Metcalf, it's a scary offense, and I gave this one an A- because, again, I don't think it was the biggest need. You got Metcalf, you got Lockett. Do you really need Jackson Smith and Jigba? No, but you go out, you take a guy to really help out Geno Smith and this offense. So I ultimately went with the A- on that one. I like the pick. Is there anything else you want to mention about him?
I'd like to mention, his route running. What I saw on tape was pretty darn good. Even though he wasn't my, number 1 wide receiver on the board. That was Jordan Addison, actually. I'm actually quite surprised I got the position right for what they were going to do at 20. I mean, considering, no one really thought they were going to go wide receiver there. I'm actually quite surprised I saw that, crystal clear.
Who did you take in our mock draft at 20?
Jordan Addison.
You did take Addison. Okay. So I'll be honest with you. I actually like Jackson Smith better than Jordan Addison, if I'm being honest. That doesn't mean he's going to have more statistics. He's not going to have better stats, right? Jordan
Yeah.
Addison is the for sure number 2 in Minnesota. Jackson Smith is probably going to be the number 2, maybe number 3 in Seattle. So again, I'm just saying, as a prospect, you take both of them and you put them on the same team. I feel like Jackson Smith's a better guy. But that doesn't mean that
Yeah.
he's going to have the better career ultimately. All right, so
Yeah.
that's him. Okay,
Well,
let's
yeah,
go.
we won't know until like maybe 5 years down the road, like what wide receiver was truly the best in this class. I mean, it could have been in the 5th round, 7th round.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Stephon Diggs in 2015.
But I want to make this clear too. Like you said, I 100% agree with that. But that still doesn't, even how they end up doing 10 years from now, right? And there may be a guy that's a Hall of Famer. Sometimes, right, the best prospect doesn't pan out because of the situation they're thrown in. An example, real fast.
Yeah.
If you take the 5th ranked prospect, let's say he's truly the 5th most talented guy, and you pair him up with Patrick Mahomes, his chances of being good skyrocket. And then let's say the other guy gets Desmond Ritter. Well, his chances go way down. So the Hall of Fame career might go to the 5th best player, but in reality, who is a better wide receiver? The guy that went to the Falcons. So I'm trying to say is, the prospect ranking versus situation they go to doesn't always pan out. Next guy, okay? I feel like he's an edge rusher. Some people say outside linebacker. Derek Hall, 37th overall pick. I believe you were not a fan of this one. What do you think here?
180. 180, set.
The pick is starting to grow on me quite a bit. Although I would have taken BJ Ojulari there. I do believe, the front office saw something in him that maybe I did not see. I just wish he would add like more pass rushing moves to his game, but ultimately I'm liking this pick a lot more than I initially did.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. This was one of my guys that I thought was gonna be like, I had him ranked high, and I ultimately put him lower and lower and lower. But I'm gonna continue to say this is one of my guys. Okay, I finished him at 7th. He was my 7th ranked guy. He was my 5th. So, I lowered him down ultimately, but I want to continue to stress I love this guy. 6'2", 239, 34-inch reach. Now, like you said, okay, he's a very raw prospect. I think he could tear up the combine. Again, I don't know if he ran a 40 or whatnot. I said, if I'm an NFL guy, and if I'm in the NFL and I have a guy that falls down on a board, right? And this is a guy that's falling down, falling down, falling down. This is a guy that I'm circling and saying, that's the player I'm taking a shot on. Now, at 37, I don't know if he fell that much, right? You guys might have taken him right where, it's kind of iffy here.
He might have fell quite a bit, which is kind of surprising because the Seahawks actually had a first round grade on him.
That's what I'm saying. So for Seattle specifically, but as someone that, for me being an analyst and like an expert in the area, I didn't have a high second round draft rate on him. Seattle may have, like you said,
Yeah.
might have him as a first ranked guy. The Raiders clearly had Alex Leatherwood ranked as a number 1 ranked guy. Most other teams had him as a round 3 guy. So that
didn't pan out well at all. I mean, is he still in the NFL? That's what I'm saying.
So Seattle, right, may be wrong on Derek Hall. Specific teams may be wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that at 37 is kind of right on that line. But the main thing I'm trying to say about him is he feels like, to me, he's all around a physical specimen. He does not quit. He continues to fight every single play. He's a guy that doesn't quit. He doesn't stop. He continues to rush. Even when he gets in his first move, he continues to try to get to the passer. I like him. He attacks a running back, attacks a quarterback. I feel like, again, going with the right coach, Pete Carroll, I feel like is one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the National Football League. I feel like Pete Carroll can get this guy to be really good. Anything you want to mention about him?
I mean, just based on like what you said, I mean, he's a clear scheme fit. I mean, he fits like what we're trying to look for in players. Players that don't give up. Keep working hard. Like that. Those are the guys that we like.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this much: he did run a 4.55 40, which is 94th percentile for your position. His arm length is at the 84th percentile. The main guy I want to circle here, that I like that he compares to physically, 83.5% match for Jermaine Johnson, who I was a huge fan of coming out of last year's draft class. So again, I like that comparison for sure. And hopefully this guy can ultimately pan out and be a really good edge rusher for you guys. The next pick, okay? My number 2 ranked running back, Zach Charbonnet from UCLA.
Okay, now this one shocked me from the start. I was like, when they announced that pick, I was like, whoa. Yeah, I was like so confused. I was like, okay, a running back in the second round. I had not seen that coming.
Yes, 6 foot 214 and a 4.53 40. What's your take on this one? What would you grade it? I mean, what's your opinion here?
I liked this pick because like I said, I mean, our new mentality is to take the best player on the board, but like at the same time, like, did we take it a little too literally this time? Because I mean, we just got Kenneth Walker in, last year's drafts. And so, I mean, I get it, the goal is to like, it's like to get some of that weight off of his like shoulders because, late in the season, we were thin at running back. And so it's important that we have that second guy. But I don't know if I really don't think I would have taken, a running back that early because I remember like in the mock draft thing that we did, I don't think I took a running back until the 5th round.
Yeah, who'd you take?
I think it was Eric Gray out of Oklahoma, which I don't know where he actually went to. I know he got drafted, I think, but I don't know where he was drafted to.
Yeah. So ultimately, like I said, to me, this is one of the most, again, for Seattle's purpose, and again, being an analyst, right, looking at it from an overview point of view, not being biased in any way, shape, or form, do they need a running back? For sure, no. Do they need a draft one in the second round? No. So I gave it a B. I also gave your Derek Hall pick a B. But I love Zach Charbonnet, and I love what Seattle's doing. Seattle wants to be able to run the ball. And honestly, like, there's no excuse for Geno Smith. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are two really great running backs. And I love Zach Charbonnet. I told you he's my number 2 guy. I feel like the gap between him and Bijan Robinson is not that far off. I'm going to continue to say it. Now, again, career-wise, Bijan's going to have the better career. Why? Because he's a workhorse over there in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Zach
I mean,
Charbonnet is probably
he's
going to
a
be the
rare.
backup.
Bijan's like a rare type of running back prospect. I mean, he was drafted in the top 10 for a reason.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I don't think the talent's that far off. I mean, Zach Charbonnet caught 40 balls in college. I think he had actually 38, but around 40. He's explosive. He's a big guy. He can be a workhorse. The issue is that he's not going to get the same amount of touches as someone like Bijan. So he's not going to have the greatest career number-wise. But man, I think he could be extremely quick. One of my favorite prospects I've ever watched, especially at the running back position. I'll be honest with you, it's close between him and Kenneth Walker. It's very
Yeah, I
close.
agree.
Him and
I
Kenneth.
agree.
You go ahead.
I really do think that, they could get about, the same amount of production because I think they're both evenly matched. But I still see Kenneth Walker as the clear running back 1.
Yeah, I mean, again, as a prospect coming out, it's real close between the two of them. I'm actually going to go back and try to even see now who I actually put over who in my video real fast. I want to see, because I'll tell you something. It's neck and neck. And I would have never thought these two would be on the same team with each other. But here we are now. They're there.
Never thought that too.
all right, so I put my top 4 running backs, okay, in the last 2 years. Bijan's number 1. Breece Hall's number 2. Kenneth Walker's number 3, and Zach Charbonnet I have at 4. So you guys have my number 3 and number 4 running back out of the last 2 draft classes, which shows you that I really like your running back room. Again, does it's the biggest need? No. But I feel like there's no
it adds on to the offense. It does.
This offense should be really good. And don't be shocked that Kenneth Walker, he got banged up a little bit last year. Don't be shocked if Zach Charbonnet becomes a workhorse and they just use Walker in a limited role. Either way, they're both going to be utilized, and I really love this running back room. All right, that's that. So that pick's out of the way. Anything else about Zach Charbonnet?
I don't think I have any more thoughts on the pick. I obviously like it a lot. Just it shocked me initially when it was announced. I was like, hold up, what?
All right, the next 2 guys, I don't know much about these guys, but I'll let you give your take on both of them. So I'll let you speed this one up. Guard Anthony Bradford from LSU and defensive tackle Cameron Young from Mississippi State. What do you know about these guys? These guys did not make my board, so I have no idea.
Okay, so Anthony Bradford, what I learned about him is that he's very athletic and he can really open up running lanes, through his effective run blocking, which allows, running backs to, succeed, which that's good for, what we want to do, which is, run the ball and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, that's what Pete Carroll's known for.
For sure. And then the other guy?
Cam Young. So, yeah, I didn't do much research on him, but he does have a lot of potential to like develop in our system. And, he's also got amazing arm length for, the position that he plays. That's what I found out about him.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, guard is a position of need. Defensive tackle is a position of need. You board them early, you take them later. It all makes sense.
Yeah, like that's one thing I didn't. That's like the main reason why, my draft grade for the Seahawks is not like an A or an A plus. It's because we didn't address the interior as early as I would have liked. We could have done that, in the 3rd round, but we decided to trade down and get an extra 3rd for, next year, which I don't even know how the Broncos approved of that trade. I mean, we basically got like an extra draft pick when we shouldn't have,
Yeah, for sure. The next pick, you go out, you take Mike Morris, defensive end, defensive tackle. What do you think about this one?
Okay, I like this pick because what I've learned is that he's very good, in the interior, and he's also a very big guy, 6 feet 6 inches, over 275 pounds. Last year he had like 7.5 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss. I think this might be a steal, honestly.
again, here's my note: 6'5", 275, 33-inch reach, as we mentioned. This kid will use bull rushes and swim moves on most of his pass rushes. He's another power rusher. He is not going to be many blockers with finesse, so he's a power guy. And again, he's versatile, D end, D tackle. Again, something that you guys could use maybe. Didn't like him as a prospect. He was my 25th ranked edge rusher. Now, again, that's against the edge rushers, not defensive tackles and edge rushers. Just as an edge rusher purely, okay? He's
Okay.
25th. He's versatile, though. So, again, for Seattle, it's not a horrible pick. If you wanted a pure edge rusher, there was better guys on the board. If you wanted a defensive
Well,
tackle,
who would you have taken there instead?
I'm trying to think. I mean, who else was left at that point? I say again, I'm so removed of the draft. It's been, what's that been now? Weeks? We're almost probably almost a month. I don't really remember who else was on the board. But I mean, just some names that I like better. I don't know if these guys were on the board at the time or not, but going all the way, I mean, Colby Wooden, Tooley, I know was taken. Keon White, I believe, was taken. Yaya Diaby, Edito Mia Adebawore, Nick Hampton, Jeremiah Martin, Thomas Incoom, Robert Beal. Those are all edge rushers I had ranked higher than him. I don't know.
Quite a number of those guys were taken.
They probably were.
Than...
Most of them were probably already taken.
Keon White was taken in the second round.
For sure. And again, that to me might have been slightly an overreach, Keon White was my 18th ranked guy. But
wow.
There's some guys for me, that even defensive tackle position, there were some guys left. Defensive tackle position this year was actually pretty dang solid. I'll be honest with you. I kind of liked it. But a lot of guys flew early, second, third round. That's why there weren't many guys left in the 5th round for this team to take. So, I mean, I understand the pick. I gave this one a C-. I just wasn't a huge fan of Mike Morris. But again, if you need a versatile guy that can play D end and edge and D tackle, this is a guy that can possibly do it. Let's go to the center from Michigan, Olusegun Oluwatimi.
Okay, what
do you think about
him? That was a steal in my opinion. I don't know. I think his projection was like the 3rd round, and I can obviously see why. Against what I think was pretty good competition considering this is Michigan. He gave up like no sacks his last season at all, in like 400 plus. I think it was like pass blocking snaps.
Yeah.
So I think what this could be is our starting center in the future. So this was a smart move by John and Pete.
Again, I'm not going to disagree with that. Look, Olusegun, I don't even know how you say his name, Olusegun Oluwatimi.
I think it's Olusegun Oluwatimi, I think.
There you go. Say way better than I am. He plays center. He seems pretty average in most areas. I said he doesn't stand out in any area specifically, but he's not weak in any area either. So he's just a good guy. I gave this one a B- because of this. Nick Broker, a guy that went real late. I believe he went in the 7th round. He's my 3rd ranked interior offensive lineman. My number 1, I believe, ranked.
Wow.
I feel like he absolutely fell. And another guy that fell that didn't play center but played guard that fell to the 7th round. Yeah, Andrew Voorhees, my number 2 ranked guy.
Yeah, that was shocking. I thought he would go like round 4 at worst.
Me too. So, I mean, I know he tore his ACL, won't be able to play this year, but man, I mean, someone needs to take – this guy is probably arguably the best interior offensive lineman when he was healthy. I know he got hurt, but, so this is a good pick for Seattle. Again, they get a thing, but there was a guy or two that I was still higher on that they could have taken here, and that would have been an absolute steal. And instead, they take my 9th overall ranked interior offensive lineman, and he might be like my 4th or 5th ranked, center in this draft class. All right, so that's him. Anything else you want to mention about him?
No, but I just know that I think this is gonna turn out really well. For Olu, I think he's gonna be a huge part of our offensive line in the future.
All right, I'll let you sum up the next 2 picks. Jarek Reed, the 2nd from New Mexico, safety, and Kenny McIntosh from Georgia, running back. What do you think about both of those?
Okay, so the Jarek Reed pick, I don't really know much about him, but what I've heard about him, just based on like research, film study, I mean, he has great production. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, I think he had like 2 interceptions last year, and he had quite a lot of pass breakups. I don't really remember everything, but I do like this pick because it provides extra depth to a safety position that I think is already pretty strong. I mean, at least in the starting lineup, but it really adds on more depth, which I like that. Honestly, he's a potential pick. in my opinion. Like he's not like gonna be like one of those immediate like starters if he has to come in and start. But I just like the potential. Like that's how I would describe it.
Then Kenny McIntosh, what do you think about him?
I like that pick because he's versatile and he can actually he can not only run the ball, but he can also, catch a ton of passes. So I can see him being more of a receiving back, than a running back.
Yeah, I think we've already talked about this before separately. I'm not a huge fan of Kenny. He was my last
Yeah,
running back.
you've made that pretty clear.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, a guy that just got signed the other day that was an undrafted free agent, Sean Tucker. He was my 5th ranked guy. He just got
Wait, that guy went undrafted?
Yeah, undrafted.
Oh,
So
that's crazy.
yeah, I know. So again, that's something that is absolutely ridiculous. So there you go. That's a guy that I would have rather them take. Again, I gave this a pick of C minus. Overall, from an overall viewpoint, what do you give Seattle as a draft grade?
I give them an A minus. I think we addressed many positions of need, even though we could have addressed the interior better. The guys that we picked in the later rounds, make me feel a little bit better about what we did over there. And then overall, I mean, I like how we took the best player available, throughout the first couple of rounds, and then I think later on in the draft I think we did that a little less, but at times we still did it. Like I feel like the Kenny McIntosh pick in the 7th round. I mean, this guy was supposed to go in the 3rd or 4th round. I mean, honestly, he was likely the best prospect on the board still, even though that like might not be how you see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I said I could be wrong. I'm pretty happy with my running back resume, especially for some busts like Trey Sermon, and then hitting on someone like Elijah Mitchell that was drafted to the same team that year. But overall, I'm between a B and a B plus, but I'm probably going to go with a B plus because you had 2 first-round picks that I really like with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Devin Witherspoon. The issue is, like I said, some of the other picks were a lot of raw prospects. And again, I don't know if you guys filled in the best need in every pick, like the Kenny McIntosh again. And if you want to go running back, I don't know if you took the best prospect there. Sean Tucker is the guy that, again, this is my grade. So I know other people may see it differently. They might think that's a steal. For me, I think a B plus is fair. You guys hit on a lot of things that you needed. I think your offense is very potent. I feel like Seattle can definitely make a playoff push this year, but it's all going to rely and come down to Geno Smith at the quarterback position. Anything else that you want to mention? We got less than a minute.
I don't think I have anything else that I'd like to mention.
All right, that's all. Plug your page one more time, and so they know where to go.
Okay, so my page is Seahawks _97.3. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter, as I run a Twitter page too. So you can find me over there too.
For sure.
Yeah, that's where you can find my page.
Yo, give them a follow. You guys will enjoy the content. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better.